You knew yesterday it was happening. It was happening all throughout the day. Our news team was all over it. And we have a very special guest on the line. Actually, a special guest in studio, too, buddy. Hey, how are you? We have Caleb Lunetta in studio.
Yep, I'm back after a long night following this amazing primary election process.
And we have one of the winners from last night.
Yes, we
and
do.
We have Katie Hill joining us on your hometown station, KHTS 98.1 FM and AM 1220.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me.
Well, we're glad you, I'm sure your phone must be going off the hook right now, seeing as how, the election results came in 4 a.m. last night, 5 a.m., the decision?
I don't know when they made it official, but yes, the phone has been a little bit busy.
Yeah, no, I would imagine that is the case. So tell me about last night. So like many people across the district, I was watching the results probably at the same time, you were. And at first it seemed like Euphoria was going to be, he had that 2-point lead going into from 8 to 11. What was going through your head at that time?
Yeah, I mean, we actually knew that he was going to have an advantage in the early votes, especially because it was going to take some time for our communications to really start working. He had the name ID that was going in from the beginning. He started the campaigning that kind of might have left some doubt in people's minds about me. So people who cast their votes early were probably going to go in his direction. So we felt comfortable with the fact that he was in the lead there, but we knew that once the day of votes started to come in, our field operation was just incredible, and that's really where we were able to make up that difference and overcome that initial lead that he had and then some. So I think that all the credit really comes down to us mitigating the fact that he had the name ID advantage and the communication advantage from the get-go with our communication capabilities through TV and mail and digital. But then, what really pushed us over the top was that field strategy.
Yeah, and I'm sure it was still a nail-biter nonetheless for a lot of us that were paying attention to it. So, yeah. But, I mean, this isn't your last one. You still have the November election, and so what's next? I mean, last night, Republican voters outnumbered the Dems in the congressional primary. So my question to you is, how are you going to convince voters that not only are you the better option than Steve Knight, but how are you going to seize on this blue wave? How are you going to make sure that the blue wave actually comes to fruition and get those supporters of yours in the voting booth?
Yeah, I think one of the big reasons that we saw more Republicans turn out than we did Democrats is that there's a lot of Democrats historically who will just wait after the primary. They're like, I'm going to support whatever Democrat makes it through. And, we definitely saw some of that. And, I think that's okay, but making sure that we really energize people and make sure that they are ready to show up on in November is going to be the key and the entire focus of our operation moving forward. One of the key, points that we're going to be really working on over the next several weeks is really unifying the Democratic Party here, making sure that people who were supporting Jess and Brian feel now like they can completely come on board, not just because they don't want Steve Knight, but because they really can feel good about joining this campaign and being part of our team. And, again, I think this is a joint effort, and this is something that I want people to truly feel good about, not just do because they feel like they have to. So we're going to be doing a lot of outreach in that regard, and we want to make sure that people feel good about it. So I'm excited about that. We also know that there's going to be a lot of support coming from different organizations that will have, manpower, also woman power on the ground, trying to reach out to voters and organize folks, and we want to make sure that we're doing that in a streamlined way and as strategic as possible wherever we are able to do so. So it's going to be a lot. I mean, we've got 5 months. We've got to raise at least twice as much money as we raised in, a third of the amount of time. So it's going to be a big challenge, but we're up for it.
That's great. So talking just about, you've already addressed how you want to unite the Democrats, but when it comes to November, the thing that always is going to push someone over the top is getting those people, in the middle that have no true left or right leaning. And a lot of people thought that you were the best option because a lot of the comparisons have been drawn between you being in the central, being a centrist. Now, is that a definition or, a way that you would describe yourself as being a centrist, or how would you describe your political leanings?
I mean, I think I'm not a fan of any of these labels, to be honest with you, because I think that I, like most Americans, don't fit easily in a box, and I don't think we should. I think that's counterproductive to how we move forward as a party and as a country. And I think defining myself as a progressive or as a moderate or a centrist or any of those kinds of things just is not really what we need to be focusing on. So, and I'm not saying that to try and dance away from the question, but really just because I think that we need to stop trying to kind of lean in on those kinds of things if we want to really make progress, for lack of a better word. But what I will say is that I think I'm a real reflection of what the people of this district are like, and that's that on some issues I tend to be more I guess liberal leaning. On some issues I'm less so, but I think that what I really feel like is the most significant thing for people in this district is that I am very pragmatic. I'm very much focused on how are we going to help people, how are we going to get things done, and what's the best thing for this community. It's, I'm not about drama. I'm not about political posturing. I'm not about putting partisan politics ahead of anything else. It's just about putting your head down and doing the work, and that's what we need in all of our politicians as far as I'm concerned.
Well, that's great. But the news, I mean, obviously you were ecstatic last night, and, you hope to be ecstatic again in November, but the good news just keeps rolling in for your campaign because, correct me if I'm wrong, the Vice News documentary about your campaign that includes last night and all the emotional, parts of it is actually airing tonight. There's going to be an HBO documentary about what happened last night, and it's the second part, if I'm correct.
Yes, that actually airs tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night. Yep. Okay, and what?
Tomorrow night on HBO.
And is that's going to be everything that was included from where the last documentary left off, which was, I believe, you had secured the no sponsorship endorsement by the DNC. So what does this one pick up?
Yeah, this one picks up right afterwards. I think it had finished with one of our big fundraising quarters, probably at about the end of March. So I think this one's also going to show some of our. This one's going to focus on, where the negative campaigning went, what it's some of our polling, what it's like to be running as a woman, and it'll touch on, for example, some of the challenges that we had as within our polling, kind of broken down by demographics. And then it's going to be focused on actually the field and what kind of led us up to election night and then election night itself. They got some footage from our party last night, so who knows what's going to show up in that, but. Hopefully it's all positive. And at the end of the day, I mean, I'm about getting the whole purpose of this documentary, and the reason I'm willing to take the risks that we have in terms of showing it is because I believe people deserve an inside look in what this political environment is like and what it's like to run a campaign, especially as a political outsider. What it's like trying to figure all of this out. And at the end of the day, I am just a person of the 25th district. I'm like everybody else here, and that I think I leave it all on the table. So it's up to each individual to decide whether that's something that they can get behind, and hopefully the majority of people do.
All right. Well, thank you for giving us the time to speak with us again. I'm sure you must be very busy, and it's only the beginning right now for you. So really appreciate you calling in. And again, that's Katie Hill's documentary that's going to be on Vice News about the second part of her campaign. And again, this is Katie Hill, a congressional candidate for the Democratic Party for California District 25. Thanks for calling in, Katie.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
Yep, no problem.
Talk soon.
Thank you, Katie. You can go to hometownstation.com to see all the election results and anything that Caleb writes, except for stuff on his blog. You can find that on his blog.
You won't find my blog.
hometownstation.com.